Hey everyone, welcome to my home studio. So the way I want to do this is kind of just show you guys around the room, show you what it looks like, and then also go through what kind of gear I'm using now. I asked earlier this week on my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts what questions you guys had about my home studio. And so I got a lot of similar questions, which is awesome because I'm gonna just try and generally address all of those within the overall studio tour here. Based on a lot of your guys' questions, it seems like there's a lot of you who actually wanna try and get into home recording a little bit yourselves. So I'm gonna try and do some beginner tips for you here in this video. And then for those of you who are looking to take it to the next level, I actually have that online course I was telling you about that's coming out later this year. And that's basically all about teaching you guys how to be an independent musician, like everything I do for my career, from audio production, video production, the business side of things, social media, all of that. So for those of you who are looking to take a deeper dive into any of those topics, keep a lookout for the online course because that's coming later this year. And before we get started, I just wanted to remind you guys that I have a couple of those live shows coming up later this month in Europe. So if you guys want to see where I'm playing and the dates and tickets and all of that, there's a link in the description below to my website where you can get all that information. All right guys, so I kind of wanted to just take you around the room and show you how it's decorated. Obviously my violins are a big part of this. So I've got all my different violins here and then also some over there that you just can't see right now. And then some of my Zelda shields that I've used in some of my music videos. So that's something that you'll see a lot throughout the room too, is I have a lot of things from my music videos and just nerdy accent pieces that are fun because obviously I'm a huge Zelda fan and also just a huge nerd in general. Jax really loves this, so does Indy. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of my Instagram videos or Facebook videos with one of them laying in here while I'm practicing or something like that. So in this cabinet here I have like all of my video gear, and I'm not gonna get into that in this video because I just want to show you more of my audio setup and everything. But if you guys would like to see all my different camera gear and video stuff, let me know in the comments below because I'd be happy to do a separate video on that sometime. Alright, so moving on, this is a cabinet of all of my classical sheet music. So this is the stuff that I used to practice all the time when I was growing up. This right here is Jared's desk setup. For those of you who don't know, Jared is my husband, and he is working with me full time now, which has been amazing. So definitely a dream come true. And then right here, this is the tripod that I use all the time when I'm recording those little clips on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. It's just a nice light tripod. It's very easy to deal with, and it has this attachment up here where I can just put my phone in very easily. Buying this was such a nice investment because I use it all the time. And then right here, this is my music stand that I've had basically since I started playing. My mom got this for me, I think a year into when I was playing. So it's like over 20 years old and it's still like awesome and functional and sturdy and everything. So I don't think they make these anymore actually, but this is what I use for all my practice sessions. And then here's my printer and a little cabinet where I have like a lot of extra supplies. And then my desk setup, which we'll get into in detail here in a few minutes. So I saw some questions about you guys asking what's above my desk, and I have a couple of different maps above there. One is the Final Fantasy VII world map, Final Fantasy VII being my favorite game of all time. And the other one is a map of Hyrule, so that is from Zelda. And I also have my YouTube plaque hanging up there that I got for 1 million subscribers. It's something that YouTube sends to you. If you get 100,000 subscribers, you get a smaller one. So here's another part of the studio that I'm super excited about. It's a newer addition. This is all fan art that you guys have given me over the years from the various live performances that I've done. And this is honestly so amazing. Like, I'm so happy that I get to come in my studio every day and see this now because this is just so nice that you guys gave me all of these pieces, and this isn't even close to all of it. This is just kind of what we could fit on the wall for right now. And it's something that I would love to add to and maybe switch pieces in and out over the years. But I just want to say a huge thank you to anyone who's contributed to this because it really means a lot to me, and it's a really nice reminder for me to have in the studio that this is like a huge part of why I love what I do so much. Just you guys are very inspiring to me as well, and the fact that you would take time to share your talents with me and everything. Really means a lot, so thank you guys so much. And then this is my big business filing cabinet. So we have some of our personal stuff in here as well, but it's just documents and tax stuff, all the stuff that's not so fun to deal with, but I just like to keep really organized and make sure that I have all that stuff if I need to access it. So this used to be known as my nerd shelf. That's what I would call it at a lot of the other places that we lived at, because I had it kind of just decorated with more of my nerdy accent pieces. But now it's kind of become quite an eclectic shelf. There's still some nerdy stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you guys have given me, just like the fan art. You guys have given me such nice gifts too over the years, so I have some of those fun ones on the shelf displayed here. And then I have some other personal pieces on here that are just kind of sentimental value things. And then on the lower portion of the shelf, I have a lot of different gear for when I use my electric violins, and also just for when I'm experimenting with different sounds with my audio production. All right, so here is my desk with all my different gear. I'll go over that in a second. The desk itself, a lot of people ask about because it's just pretty plain. It's very large, just fits everything nicely. And it's a sit to stand desk, so that's really why I wanted it. It's a lot more ergonomically friendly. I have a lot of neck problems, of course, from doing the violin and also from doing all of this stuff at the computer all the time. So as far as what's on the desk, I've got a couple of different hard drives. That's basically where I'm just backing up a lot of different video files usually. I have Dropbox that I use for most backing up, especially with my audio files and things like that. I have another drive that's solely just for running my sample instruments off of, so that just helps them load up quicker. It actually has solid state drives within that hard drive. It's a really powerful external hard drive, so that's awesome for audio production. I've got my studio monitors. That's just kind of a fancy way of saying speakers. Those are Focal Solo 6s. Those are beautiful monitors. Definitely not what I started out with, but very happy to own those now. They're in my Universal Audio Apollo Twin audio interface, so I really love that audio interface. And I'm using a Mac Pro, so I've had that for about 4 years now. I'm pretty much married to Apple products at this point because the software that you see on the screen here is Logic Pro, and that is a Mac-only piece of software. There are a lot to choose from out there, but this is the one that I just really spent all my time learning, and so at this point, it doesn't make any sense for me to try and start over. And then my monitor, it's not a 4K monitor, but it is very nice and large. It is a 34-inch monitor. I see a lot of your guys' comments about this monitor and how wide it is, but as you can see, Logic Pro is a very timeline-oriented program, and it's the same with the video editing software I use, Adobe Premiere Pro. The way that I like to work, I just like to have all of that width on there, so I love having a monitor that's this wide. I also have a MIDI keyboard here. You don't have to have an 88 key in order to do this kind of production work. I just like having the full range, and some of my samples actually utilize the full range. And I did want to show you guys, because I have this on the screen, what one of my actual project files looks like. I know it's kind of hard to see with this camera angle, but this is my audio information. So this is my actual violin part, and then all of these other colored blocks are basically MIDI data. So that's what I've played through on the keyboard through each of these individual samples. So this is my song Starfire. So you can see I can solo different instruments just so you can hear what it sounds like. So that's all I wanted to show you for that, just so you knew kind of what was going on there. This is kind of this could be its own video series, honestly, just working with sample libraries and all of the production aspects. But hopefully that just gives you a little bit of an overview of what it looks like within the project file. So this is a pretty advanced setup, and I can do everything that I need to do with this equipment. If I ever did upgrade any of my gear, it's kind of my own preference at that point. It's not necessarily going to enhance my sound that much by going up in the price range. And you certainly do not need this level of equipment in order to get started, or even to get really nice professional sounding results. My first setup was so much simpler than this. My audio interface was $100. I still have those same headphones. Those were about $100 too. I was using a PC at first. It was just what I had when I graduated from college, and it was not a nice computer. I've just upgraded a ton over time, and just basically as I was able to afford to, I would get new equipment, new gear. Since I got a lot of questions from you guys about what kind of gear I would recommend that you get if you were just starting your own home studio, I wanted to just give you like 5 main pieces that I would recommend as basically essentials to anyone's home recording setup, because you certainly don't need to have everything that I've got going on here. Number 1 is a computer. You can go Mac or PC, which brings me to the next thing you need, which is the software. A lot of people call them DAWs. It stands for Digital Audio Workstation. So like I said, I use Logic Pro, and that's a Mac-only software. Most of them are cross-compatible, I believe, but there are a few that are PC-only or Mac-only, so just make sure you check. But there are so many different digital audio workstations to choose from. All of them are gonna be pretty much at a similar level for professional results. Number 3 would be an audio interface. So that's basically what you plug into your computer, and you plug your microphone into that, so it converts your analog signal into a digital signal so that you can get your recording in your digital audio workstation. Number 4 is a microphone. So there's a lot of different microphones to choose from out there. I personally would recommend, for the price and for the fact that it's probably gonna sound the best on most voices and instruments, a large diaphragm condenser microphone. And then number 5 is going to be headphones. So again, that doesn't need to be anything expensive. And those are pretty much like the bare minimum essentials that you would need to get started recording your own stuff. If you want to take it a step further and be building your own backtracks and things like that, kind of like how I do it, you definitely want to invest in a MIDI keyboard. And again, like, all of this stuff can pretty much be as cheap or as expensive as you're willing to pay, and a lot of the stuff that's like mid-range price it's all pretty affordable now and pretty professional level. I certainly wouldn't go the cheapest you can go, but you don't also need to go as high-end as some of the stuff is. And then studio monitors are really nice to have, because during the mixing process it's nice to be able to listen to your mixes through studio monitors instead of just headphones. But I know a lot of people who just mix through headphones and get amazing results. I like to go between the two, so that's one of those things. Again, it's not an essential, but keyboard and the studio monitors would be my extra 2 pieces of equipment for recommendation if you wanted to get into more of the kind of stuff that I'm doing. All right, so now I want to show you guys what it looks like when I set up to record. Normally this is what my desk setup looks like, because I'm not recording every single day and I don't want to have my microphone out and the other gear that I need for recording. So let me just show you though how easy and quick it is for me to set up for recording. All right, so really all I changed from sitting down to standing up now is just brought out my microphone and these sound absorption panels. So that's really all that I do to change this from production to recording. So it's really simple. My very first setup was just mattresses and blankets against a wall in my parents' spare bedroom. So that actually was able to still achieve a very nice and similar sound. If your whole room isn't really acoustically treated, which, let's face it, most people aren't going to be able to do that, the next best thing that I've found, and through my research and everything, is just to try and isolate your sound as much as possible. So that's why I've got these absorption panels up. I have this like extension here. This is just like a loose sound panel. So my microphone, it has a different,
What were you gonna say?
it's a different directional pattern. It's like a figure 8 pattern.
So,
But that's why I need the mic shield for it.
no.
So a lot of people ask about the microphone that I use, and I use an AEA ribbon microphone. I like the sound that I get from it, but it's honestly not something that I would recommend for most people. It's pretty specialized. This was a fairly expensive microphone, and so I've just used it for all of my albums and singles. And like I said, I like the sound, but it's just kind of temperamental. It's a little bit more difficult to work with. For most of you guys, that's why I'm recommending the large diaphragm condenser microphone. So as much as I like this one for what I'm doing, it's not something that I think would probably be the best fit for you guys. One of the most important things when you're recording yourself is just to experiment with mic placement and the distance from the microphone. Because you can tell when something sounds a lot more close mic'd or when you're a little bit further away. It has a way different sound. And also the placement too, just the height, the angle, depending on what kind of microphone you're using, what kinds of acoustic treatments you might want around that. So there's just a ton to experiment with depending on what kind of gear you guys have. It took me a long time to figure out like the placement that I like and where I like to stand and all of that. So definitely do a lot of experimenting, and don't worry if it's not like the best sound the first time you try something, because it just does take a lot of practice. And as far as how this is actually being recorded, this is like the main reason why you need your audio interface, because the microphone will plug into your audio interface and that plugs into your computer then. So that's how you're able to record within your software. I feel so fortunate to have the kinds of gear that I have now and to have this amazing space. This is not how I started out though, and it's not how most of you are probably gonna start out either. So I just want you to keep that in mind. You don't have to have like really nice or fancy stuff in order to get started, because I certainly didn't either. This is actually the 6th different place that I've lived now in the last 8 years where I've had to record my albums and singles, because we've moved around a lot, and so I've had to figure out a way in my setup to kind of make it portable to work in all sorts of different environments. Because right now we do own this house, but most of the other places we lived in, we were renting, and so there's only so much you can do with customization. And I'm a firm believer that you can get really great results at home, so it is something that I believe that pretty much anyone can do in any kind of space. And when I talk about this, like I call it my studio or whatever, but it's honestly just like an extra room in our house. It's not like I had this built specifically for music in mind. Again, you can use like any extra room that you have in your house. Or even if you're just in a 1-bedroom place or something like that, you can also use that space too. So I've actually never recorded any of my albums or singles in an outside studio. I've always just recorded them in whatever home or apartment we were living in at the time. At first this was just out of financial necessity, but then once I learned how to do it and I liked the sound that I was getting, I really didn't see any reason to spend the money or spend the time, because actually, I think it's just a lot more convenient, and it's certainly a lot cheaper if you can just learn to do this stuff yourself from home. So that's it, guys. That was the studio tour. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'd really love to hear what other types of vlogs like this you guys would like to see on the channel. So please just comment below with any other suggestions. If you guys want to get updates about my online course that's coming out later this year, you can sign up for my email list. I'm leaving a link in the description below for that. Also, don't forget about those European shows later this month. I hope to see a lot of you guys there. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.